privilege of knowing Mary really since around 2000, when we were both young, energetic, enthusiastic researchers at the Institute for Development Studies, and also part of the women's movement as part of the Women's Award, the African Association for Women and Research in Africa, where actually at one point Mary and them campaigned for me to become the chairperson of the Kenya chapter. Over the years, I've watched Mary wear many hats with remarkable grace, as has already been said, as a researcher, a teacher, an author, a friend, a public intellectual, and perhaps most importantly, and has been said before, an unrelenting seeker of knowledge. One thing you quickly discover when you meet Mary is that she's not content with easy answers like many of us. She has spent much of her academic life asking difficult questions. Of course, many of us don't. And I think Professor Kamau alluded to that. Asking difficult questions about development, economic justice, how African realities are understood through African perspective, and rather than just basically through borrowed lenses of the West. She has continuously challenged us that we should not overlook or dismiss things that others might dismiss in their academic work. And I think this has already been said by previous speakers. Of course, we know Mary's academic journey has been mentioned here from the University of Cambridge, her PhD, but really despite international exposure, Mary has really remained grounded on Kenya and Africa's reality. Our scholarship has never been for research sake, as Professor Kamau said, that she has even used her own resources to do that. It has been scholarship with purpose. Scholarship that speaks to ordinary people, the people that we were told about, how it impacts people's lives, the market, the communities, and work for dignity, as we have been told, as we know when they began with Professor McCormick, the Juakali sector. Over the years, of course, it has been said here just by the speaker before me, she has produced an impressive body of work. In fact, our publications, as has been said, including Women in the Informal Economy and Institutions of Hope, have actually helped reshape. And if you look online, you will see how this thinking and how these works have reshaped how people perceive the economies in Africa, and also the conversations about the informal economy, not just as a space of failure, but one of innovation, resilience, and as we have been told, a space for agency. But impressive publications just tell part of the story, right? Those of us who have worked alongside Mary know many other sides of her. She's wonderfully curious. She has an infectious enthusiasm for ideas. You can begin a conversation with Mary, if you know Mary, or those of us who know Mary, about a roadside market, or Juakali, as they used to call it those days when we were younger. And before you know it, she's discussing Africa's philosophy, global trade, and even history and the future of development theory. She has a remarkable ability to see connections where the rest of us only see separate pieces. Mary has been a generous colleague, and in fact, over the years, we have stayed in contact, talking on a regular basis about life and showing support for each other where that is necessary. Many of us, of course, have benefited from our wisdom, our honesty, and occasionally a gentle but firm challenge for us to think deeper. And let me say this, academia sometimes can reward those who are loudest, but as we know, Mary is not one of those. Mary has shown us that influence does not always come from the loudest voice. Sometimes it comes through consistency, through integrity, through intellectual courage. Through quietly producing works, as has been shown before by the speaker before me, works that stand the test of time. One thing I admire most about Mary is that she has never allowed herself to be confined by conventional thinking. So, as today's lecture reminds us, a valedictory lecture is not a moment, it's a moment of reflection, to pause, to look at the academic journey and celebrate contributions, and also the lessons that have been learned. Let me say this, I really do not understand what today's lecture is about. Mary, really? You chose the scars on my feet, scholarship of agency on Kenya's invisible? Sounds too complex for me, but knowing Mary, I have absolutely no doubt that she will explain this to us in a way that we can understand. That's the intellectual Mary. And in fact, she can answer most of the difficult questions. So Mary, today we celebrate not only your accomplishments as a scholar, but also for you as a mentor, a colleague, a friend, a woman of integrity, and also a woman who has expanded the understanding of Africa's development and even made us question ourselves for us to understand deeper. Mary, thank you for your scholarship. Thank you for your courage to challenge established thinking. Thank you for reminding us that ideas matter, that research matters, that universities are at their best when they remain curious and critical and are connected to society, that their work contributes to development.